Hmm. Well, I may be here, I may not. Hi, I'm Nancy Lynn Ruth on blogresults.com. And I just got off of a full day of doing a training. It, I wasn't giving it, I was attending and learning all sorts of things about video, and I'll share a little bit about that later on. But I'm tired. I'm really sorry. But I was excited to tell you about this thing. I wasn't planning to do three Facebook Lives on imposter syndrome, but I got so much reaction from people, from women especially, who find it to really be a, a block either in their past, but often very people are really struggling with it even now after having had a lot of success. And so I think it is something that it bears revisiting. If you don't know, imposter syndrome is that experience of feeling like you're not as competent as other people see you. Like maybe you feel like you're a fraud. And I heard a lot of people talking about that when it came to doing videos. Like, how can I do a video? And I'm not ready for that. I'm not good enough. I'm not something. Anyway, so as I say, I talked and posted about a lot over the last couple of weeks. Today I want to share about what I've learned about why women seem to struggle with it more than men, and where it comes from, why it seems to be so persistent in women, even after they've accomplished so much. This is important to me. I mean, uh, I've said this before. I see a real need. I'm not the only one either. I see a real need for women to step up into leadership positions much more than we've been doing. Uh, our world needs the kind of change that women can bring. Uh, Change things from being too competitive, too much us versus them. I know wonderful men who are leading the charge on that too. But I think when women step up, it's going to make such a big difference. It's going to open up possibilities and growth that the old ways of working just have been shutting down. And I see imposter syndrome getting in the way of especially women leaders, women who could be leaders, who should be leaders, who we need to be leaders. And for some reason, it just doesn't seem to affect male leaders nearly as much. I know it does to a certain extent, but not as much. It seems like women really question themselves no matter what other people are telling themselves. So what I've seen with clients and myself and from friends who have talked about this, maybe, but I've seen this in certain ways. Maybe this is for you, but so often going through school, we've seen the boys called on and the girls with their hands up get skipped over. I surely hope that that's not happening anymore, but back when I was going through school, that was happening, and here we are now with all that old programming in us. Then you go to work and you see men advancing up the corporate ladder faster. I fear that's all happening now, whether or not as much as it used to, but I'm sure it's still there. And mostly we see men in leadership positions. That is changing, but it's not changed uh, enough yet. And we're still playing off of old programs from the past when all you would see on television would be the men in the C-suite, or on TV shows they would be leading the government, the company, the charge, whatever it was. So we have this in our personal histories, but we also have a history of women being expected to stay in the background. I remember reading this and being surprised by this, but in the Victorian era, women were not supposed to ever be mentioned in the newspapers for any reason at all, not even a good one. It just wasn't supposed to happen, because that would mean there was some kind of bad human being, bad woman. A woman was, her place was in the home or something like that. And that kind of thinking gets passed down. I've heard from so many clients when we're working on what's holding them back from getting out there in a bigger way. Oh, I had an older sibling. They were more advanced than me, so anything I did was never quite as good as them. So I'm just not, I don't feel like I'm that good. Also, they would get, harkening back to that, a woman was supposed to be less than, not as noticed. The older brother, or even the younger brother, who, well, I wasn't supposed to do as well as they were. He is supposed to have more money, be more visible. Um, I've seen it come from this imposter syndrome. I've seen it in gifted kids who've grown up to be gifted adults, and they've gone through stuff that I've talked about this before, but I'll just give a simple example. That they had such easy time of it going through the grades, maybe through middle school, maybe through high school, but at some point they hit a point where they couldn't just do something that was just easy for them. They had to actually work at it, because we all reach some point where you have to learn it. You have to actually get in there and stub your toe and make mistakes first. And for a kid who was told, oh, you're so smart, you don't even have to study, or something like that, when they have to start to work it out, and it's not easy, that can have them questioning who they really are. Oh, maybe I'm not smart. And then you see where the imposter syndrome comes from. Everyone says I'm so smart, but I don't know how to do this, so maybe I'm not. I guess I'm not that. I'm a fraud. They got it wrong. So that comes up. And then I just want to say, when I was posting this about women and imposter syndrome on Facebook, I got a lot of really in-depth, interesting responses from people. I just want to share a little bit of what I've heard. That one person talked about feeling like they're conditioned as a young girl to have to be perfect and please others around her. So she didn't want to claim anything, a job, a promotion, anything where she couldn't be perfect at it. Oh man, I've worked with so many people who had this perfection expectation of themselves. Maybe it came from other people, maybe it came from inside, but when you've got that and you know it's going to be hard to do something, so you fear you can't be perfect, well, you don't necessarily step up to it. And leadership, I don't know anybody who is born to be a leader. Frankly, I don't know anyone in a royal family. I'm guessing that's the only place, but everyone else, you kind of have to go around and figure it out, even if your father's the CEO or your mother's the CEO, and you have to figure out how to do it yourself. So if you can't do something perfectly, then you might not even try it at all. But then there's also the expectation to be perfect, not just do it, but be perfect. And none of us are. So if we can't be perfect, we're going to feel like an imposter if that's what we're conditioned to do. And then I had someone else talk about how boys are conditioned to be leaders, aggressive, competitive, act like it even when they don't feel like it. And this is the way we've seen leaders in the past. We were trained up to expect our leaders to be competitive, aggressive, and the sports leader kind of charge like that. But many women don't feel like that. Most women were not conditioned to respond to the world in that aggressive, competitive, act like it even when you don't feel it like it way, right? So we were conditioned to do the opposite. So when boys were involved, especially in sports, it was assumed that they would be better. They'd take those leadership positions. And then, that's going through school, but then you get out in the world and all that old learning comes with you. So, yeah, could be that. Another person said when boys feel like an imposter, because of course that comes up. I don't know how to do this, and yet I'm going to say I'm going to do this. Those boys get the message that it's okay. Yeah, you don't feel like it, you don't feel ready. You just keep going, go, go, go. And I remember reading about how men will be much more willing to apply for a job where the prerequisites, what they're supposed to have, the experience, they've got a couple of the 10 things, but they got a couple and they know they can do the rest, so they're just going to go for it. Whereas women are far more likely to say, oh, I've got 9 out of the 10, but I don't have that 10th one. I guess I can't apply for that job. Hey, if that's you, apply for the job, okay? But anyway, it's like the boys are trained up in going for something beyond where they already are. Girls, for some reason, somehow, we're teaching our girls to just stay where they are, go with what you know, maybe incremental change, but not something really big. I know I'm going to be working on changing that message with my daughter. So if girls don't get the message that it's okay to feel like an imposter, just go for it anyway. They listen to the feeling instead. They say, oh, this is a bad thing. I guess it must be true. I better not go after, right? So I guess the message there was everyone's going to feel like an imposter at times, but the girls trained up and believe that and credit their feelings more and think they're true are going to give up before the boys are. let's not give up, okay? Um, and let's see, I guess there was another response that got a lot of likes, and I love this one too. That girls are conditioned to think how our words and our actions are going to impact others, and we are expected to please everyone. That's been our role for so long, and I hope it's changing. But I'm speaking to my generation, and probably some generations after mine. That's what we grew up with, no matter where we are now. That's the programs running in our own mind. And that has become our currency, pleasing others. How others react to us in positive ways is like our power. It's sort of a covert power, not the more overt power of being the leader, the competitive, aggressive type. So we go with what we know. And guess what? Boys are rewarded for claiming that expertise and that overt power. Girls are not, and so, or weren't anyway, and we mistrust ourselves. We avoid conflict because, hey, if I'm going to stand for something, it's going to step on some toes. If I have an opinion, some people are not going to agree with me, then they won't like me. And then where will I be? It's maybe not even consciously thinking that way, but that's how we can feel. So we stay in that position of trying to please everyone. So, and I should just point out, a lot of people just simply posted things around, it's the patriarchy. And yeah, that comes up a lot. Not that men are bad, but we've grown up in these expectations of a patriarchal society. Frankly, I love my husband's answer to this question of why women seem to be more susceptible to imposter syndrome than men right now. He said, well, maybe women are more sensitive to the fact that a lot of men are just faking it, and the women can tell. So wherever it comes from, I just want to point out one more time, you don't have to listen to it. If that voice inside of you says, oh, I'm not that good, oh, who am I to think I should be out there? You don't have to listen to it. It's just a younger part of you trying to keep you small, where you're safe, where you know. Give it a pat on the head, tell it to go out and play while you take on what you're here to do. And of course, as always, if it's really persistent, you can tap. Okay, tapping is my answer to when those voices, that old tape that's playing just is too loud. So, as I say, I just came off this training. It was a training on all about doing videos and how to do them well, how to really engage people and show up in a good way. And it ended with a 30-day challenge, which I accepted. So it turns out that this video is actually the first of 30 daily Facebook Lives. So please come back and see me. I'll go on whenever I can, but I'll do one a day at least. I'm also going to be talking next week in the regular time slot about some things I picked up about women in video. I've been noticing it with my MVP club, women leaders, where video tends to be a real sticking point. I heard today from other women some were talking about, I feel like a fraud or an imposter. So when they try to get up on video and say things, I'm going to get into a little bit about what we women tell ourselves that holds us back from doing videos and being seen. But that'll be for next week. In the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you have something useful to take away. And it's way too long. I gotta go. But until I see you next, happy tapping.